If they can walk 10,000 steps a day, they are ahead of the game. That is an absolute game changer. Whenever you get knocked down, get back up on your feet as soon as possible. See people as who they can become and see people as the most amazing people. Believe in people. Because really, when you believe in people, it allows them to feel like, yes, I can grow. Yes, I can do this. Yes, I can take action.
Welcome to the Health Insights Podcast. In this episode, we're joined by Ben Roxey, a passionate boxing coach and fitness expert with a lifelong dedication to health and wellness. Ben shares his inspiring journey from a young child immersed in the world of boxing, influenced by his parents' backgrounds in dance and athletics, to becoming a fierce advocate for holistic health. He discusses the importance of discipline in boxing, the critical role of nutrition in performance and mental well-being, and how personal experiences shaped his approach to health. Ben emphasizes the significance of integrity and self-belief in achieving one's goals and shares practical strategies for maintaining a balanced lifestyle, including the 80-20 rule in nutrition and the power of movement. This show is brought to you by Thea Health, dedicated to empowering individuals to take control of their health and well-being. Visit theahealth.ai to learn more. All right, let's dive into today's enlightening conversation.
Ben, how are you?
Doing fantastic. How are you, man?
Very good. I'm excited to talk to you because you're the first boxer on the podcast.
Oh,
And
let's go.
I think boxing, I actually took some lessons when I was living in Mexico. So I'd go 3 times a week for an hour personal lessons. I don't think I've ever sweat more in my life than 1 hour of boxing training.
Yeah.
Just to put into context, I was walking back from my boxing training and we saw this woman we know on the road. She goes, "Oh, did you just jump in the ocean with your clothes on?" And I was like, "No,
No,
just sweating from
just came back
boxing."
from boxing.
Yeah. The reason I bring that up is I think having done it, I think it takes a lot of discipline. It takes a lot of work and dedication. What got you into it in the first place?
So I actually started boxing when I was 5 years old. My dad brought me into the sport. I was just a little kid in the gym watching everybody punch some stuff as that's what it looked like. And I just kept coming back because there was dodgeball there.
Yeah.
So I didn't really develop a love for boxing until later on, but I was surrounded by the support watching my dad compete and fight. And so I've been in the world of boxing forever.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize how that's a foundation for who I am today, the discipline that I have, the fight mentality of I will literally get through anything that comes my way. Life's not as you plan it. So things come at you very unexpected and you have to roll with the punches. And that's kind of how I got into boxing. So I was competing at a young age. And then when I was 16 years old, I was in the gym all the time, working with my dad's professional fighters in the fight camp as a strength and conditioning coach.
Yeah.
And I was asked by the gym owner to teach a class for kids. And both of my parents were professional dancers growing up. My dad was one of the original street dancers, break dancers in Brooklyn. My mom was a ballerina, ballet dancer. And they opened up their own school and professional dance company. So when I wasn't boxing, I was dancing, kind of like Billy Elliot, if you know who that is. Yeah, so Billy Elliot, boxing, dancing, and my both of my parents were teachers, so I always watched them do summer camps and teach. And when I was 16 years old, I started teaching kids boxing and got more involved into the boxing community. And so I've been working with professional fighters, being a sparring partner for fighters. I've been doing it all since I was a little kid, 5 years old, with the boxing.
Any names you can drop on the pros that you've sparred with
Yeah,
that you're allowed to say?
I can mention a couple, especially the ones that I've sparred with and worked pretty in depth with. Uh, Britain Hart, she's actually a bare knuckle fighter,
Wow.
and yeah, do you know what bare knuckle is?
Oh, I it's like
Yeah,
without the glove,
bare
right?
knuckles.
Like,
Yeah,
so you're getting
rocked in the face with a bare fist. No joke, you got to be a little crazy to do that. So I'm not crazy, and I don't do any bare knuckle fighting. But we did a whole camp at our gym that we built over COVID times when I'm allowed to curse.
Yeah.
When the shit hit the fan.
Yeah, well, just
About
beep it out.
Yeah, okay. when this shit hit the fan, we built this awesome gym, and we had a whole fight camp for her to fight against Paige Van Sant, who signed to bare knuckle for I believe 2 million, something around there. Don't quote me on that, but a lot of money, and she was a superstar, and she actually went there and beat her. So yeah, I was getting rocked in the face, not only but yeah, but a girl like Britain Hart, yeah. And then
That's awesome.
my dad worked with fighter Alejandro Jimenez. He was undefeated until he made an exit out of this sport. You know, boxing's not for everybody. You got to have a more than just a tough body and the skills, but the biggest thing is the mentality.
Yeah.
So have seen a lot of fighters come and go, and yeah, you got to be relentless in the sport.
Yeah.
And I have other things going for me, so that's why I'm not fighting professionally. Uh,
Gotcha. Yeah.
you got to live, breathe, sleep boxing. Like
Yeah.
you can't have anything else.
Yeah, I think there's some misconception that like boxers have a regular life and then they get in the ring. And I remember I was listening to Mike Tyson's routine. He was like, I wake up at 4 because my competition doesn't. I run until 6, then I sleep, then I have, first breakfast, then I train for 2 hours, second breakfast, sleep. Then I get up, run again, sleep, go train in the
It's
gym.
ridiculous.
And it was like 4 a.m. to 9 p.m. And then the last 2 hours I was watching fight tapes. And I go, man, imagine going up against a guy like that day in and day out. He's just training like that,
Yeah. So that's why you can't half-ass boxing.
Right.
You have to be all in.
Yeah.
I'm not a professional boxer, but I can tell you when I was training, I would wake up, I would run, I would come back, do some technique, I would go eat, be super tired, and then have another training session. I would be training 3 times a day.
Right.
And you're doing that over and over again. Probably not treating my body the way I really need it. I need more of that, cold plunge, all of the biohacking that's available today. I needed more of that at the time to support what I was doing.
Yeah. Makes sense. Let's go back to, you're 5 years old. Was your father a pro or just loved boxing or
No.
what was that
So
life like?
my dad was just getting into boxing when I was probably 5 years old. He was a professional dancer, break dancer, and then also traveled the world
That's
dancing.
amazing.
Yeah, and always loved to fight. And he grew up in Brooklyn, probably fighting the way he don't want to be
On
fighting.
the street?
Right. And he got into boxing and then also martial arts. And so he's doing some kicking. And he was competing as well, but that ended when he got hit in the face with a kick and got a detached retina in his eye. So it's basically when you can't see out of his left eye anymore.
Damn.
So that ended for him, but he will never give up boxing. He's always working with professional fighters. He just worked with an amazing fighter, Tanjay Teasley, and he trained him and was the cut man in the corner. And he just won a great fight. I believe 10-0, 11-0. Don't quote me on that, but
No worries.
he's on the come up.
It's something right?
Yeah. Right.
So growing up in that environment, how did that impact how you view your body, treat your body? We'll get into your clients, but I wanted to kind of see like what did that even at a young age were you thinking about nutrition or were you not worried about it and just kind of exercising with your father like and then maybe over the years how did that change?
Yeah, so growing up, I've always been active. Not only was I dancing, but I was playing baseball, soccer, football, boxing, any way that I can move my body. And I have to thank my parents so much for giving me that gift of being fit and being active. There's a lot of parents who don't give that gift to their children, and then it's so much more challenging to get in shape. But I've always loved being active and I've always loved being fit. I wasn't really interested in the nutrition side of things until later on. I was just an active dude in the dance studio, playing football, quarterback of the team. And then it kind of really changed where I got a lot more passionate about it when I was a trainer and I was juggling a lot of different things. And I realized that there's a whole nutrition side of things to training. So I'm being a strength and conditioning coach. Okay, how can I build a lot of muscle? I was always a little bit of a smaller kid, leaner kid,
Yeah.
and not a lot of people realize that. I'm not putting out, me when I was a little kid and scrawnier. But I built a lot of muscle. And as a boxer, you don't want to build a lot of muscle, but I was able to pretty fast. Maybe my dad gifted me some good genetics. And throughout that journey of building muscle and learning more about nutrition, I think I did a lot of things. I don't want to say wrong,
Yeah.
but I could do them in a very transformed way today that would prevent a lot of things that I went through in terms of health. That brings me kind of to today where I take an approach of training somebody from the top to the bottom, from your hair to your toenails and inside and out, where I'm really looking at not only, how far can you push yourself, how strong can you be, how much muscle can you be, how sexy can you look, and how confident can you feel, but also a lot of mental health as well. I've done a lot of personal development for myself personally and just programs to learn how to be a better coach. Ontological coaching, which is your way of being,
Yeah.
which always your way of being determines what you do, and what you do determines what you have. So you want to be happy. People are like, all right, what do I got to do? I got to do more of this. And it's really down to your way of being that you choose. And so I do a lot of coaching with my clients in that regard. And then also, the nutrition side of thing, so big. I was always so fixated on the macros, calories, being in a deficit, being in a surplus, eating enough protein, right? What the education that I received, but I didn't know a lot of about inflammation and about recovery when it relates to nutrition and about your gut health. And I became very passionate about that a couple years ago.
Very cool. Let's go back to, let's say you're 16, training hard.
Yeah.
What was your diet back then? Or is it basically like anything I get my hands on and it doesn't matter, or is there something to it?
So there was something to it. When I was 16 years old, I was so lean. There's a guy, Grego Gallagher. I don't know if you're familiar,
Yeah, Kino
but
Body.
Kino Body. Yeah,
Shout
yeah,
out to
yeah.
Greg.
Shout out
We'll
to
give him
Greg.
a shot.
Yeah, he. I definitely got a little inspiration from him. Saw him fasting. Saw the importance of it. Did a lot of research about it, and I was on that journey of fasting. Got me super shredded. I was counting my calories, my Fitness Pal, putting it all in. But at the time, I was not only training for myself and training other fighters and other people, but I was also doing general contracting work. So I had somebody making me shovel pounds of stone, doing demo, breaking houses down, and doing crazy labor. And so through that, being super active, I got extremely shredded. I wasn't concerned with what I was eating. I was just concerned with the macros. You look, how much protein, how much fat, how much carbs. So that was a brief overview of my diet when I was 16.
What types of foods was your go-tos back then?
Light and fit, Okios, high protein, anything that said high protein. You had the Quest bars, protein powder. I think there was a brand, Bomar Nutrition. I was on that. Um, I'm not gonna shout out all the brands, but really anything that was like natural and more importantly, like high protein. That's what I was
That's
going
what you're
for.
going for. Yeah, I think it's just the problem with stuff like that is if you eat a lot of it, it has a lot of fillers. And let's just say one of my friends didn't know that and he ate like 3 Quest bars before our plane.
It's probably on the toilet.
Oh yeah, it wasn't a good plane ride.
That's good. Not
So
for him, but
no, no, not for
to
him,
hear.
but for this podcast, it's a good story. Yeah, so you kind of learned about that stuff. You were in great shape. I think there's something to be said, if you're training and weight training, and then also you have what you're talking about is essentially like steady state cardio almost, where you're just shoveling things all day, right? Or like that neat, non-exercise thermogenesis, whatever. I forgot what the activity. Yeah,
Yeah.
activity.
But it's the most important thing. I can't stress enough. My clients, if they can walk 10,000 steps a day, they are ahead of the game. That is an absolute game changer. And it is so easy if you have that mindset of I'm gonna figure it out. You get a walking pad if you work at a desk. You go for a walk in the morning, go for a walk at lunch, talk on the phone. Like, there's so many ways you can get those 10,000 steps, and that's game changer, that neat. And so I was kinda doing that a little bit more intense.
So, yeah, I would say, right? Because
Yeah.
you're shoveling, so you're actually like expending quite a bit of energy doing that all day. Going back to, steady state, you mentioned that would be like just build into your day movement. Is that one thing that's like the core pillar of what you do now?
Yeah, I think so I never train. Are you talking about me
Yeah,
or my
you personally. Like, is that still something that you focus on?
So right now, I'm at a period in my life where fitness is the biggest catalyst for me, as it's always been, but right now I use it as a way for my mental health, to stay sharp, when I talk to others, to try new things in the gym, to learn from my clients, to constantly challenge my body, challenge my mind, and keep myself healthy. I'm never just doing high intensity training. I'm never just boxing.
Yeah.
I mix everything that I've learned over the years into my routine, which is, I wouldn't say the most basic thing in the world. People are like, "Wow, this guy's doing crazy training,"
Yeah.
because I do some crazy exercises like Superman push-ups, and I just enjoy having fun with it. I believe if you're not having fun with exercise, then you're gonna quit, or you're not going to be excited to show up, and it's hard enough to wanna show up on the days
Totally.
that suck. When you're waking up out of bed, you're like, "I don't wanna go to the gym," and if you're not looking forward to any type of exercise that you get to do, then it makes it a lot tougher for people. So I just keep it fun, keep it unique and spicy, creative. So I'm always changing things up, but I think as a staple, just try to stay active. I try to stay away from the sedentary lifestyle. And I was working before going full time in this beautiful world of health and mental health, physical health. I was working in insurance at a desk job, and that showed me how unhealthy I could become.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
I do want to go a little bit back again. So, Gregor Gallagher, shout out again. Changed your view. You were doing shoveling, so that really helped kind of keep the fat down. Let's just say high protein kept muscle intact, or at least maybe even grow it, right? When did you make when did you have like an aha moment of, hey, I really should be more mindful of my nutrition? Maybe these protein bars, maybe once in a while or whatever, but like day to day, they should be substituted for something else. What was there like a event in your life you didn't feel well, even though you looked well? Like, how did that come about?
So this is a really important topic to me, and I don't speak about this ever. This might be one of the first times that I ever speak about this publicly. But when I can't even remember what year it was or how old I was. I just remember I was dealing with a lot of acne,
Yeah.
and nobody ever saw me as that. I always was fit, looked good, had clear skin.
Yeah.
Everything was great, high energy, always a positive person. So at least I didn't think anybody experienced me as, "Oh, there's anything wrong with his health." No, and, like, I think most people, I hid that away, and I didn't express that to anybody, but I was dealing with this. I'm like, "What the heck's happening?" I thought I'm the most healthy person that I know, and I'm doing everything right, and it got to a point where, you show up to a family function, or you show up to I was going to classes, and you're so insecure, you can't even have a conversation like we are now and feel okay about, you looking at me and seeing me as, for who I am. And so that was a really challenging thing, and one of the biggest insecurities that I went through with that. And I never was really able to speak about it. And the way I got into really realizing about how in depth this is and where it's coming from, after trying a whole lot of things that, going to doctors, telling them, and them giving me this and telling me to try this, I ended up at a light therapy studio. Evan Transu, cannot thank him enough.
Shout
But
out to Evan.
yeah, shout out to Evan and Maddie as well, his wife. But they showed me the world of holistic health and how important it is to heal the gut, how important it is to treat your body really like a temple and put nutritious food, stay away from the environmental toxins, and how important light can be in your routine. And sometimes the most basic things that being an athlete, you kind of fall out of a lot of those things to push yourself so hard. So it's been a crazy journey of figuring all of that out because it's such a complex world and the body is such a complex thing. But yeah, it's where I kind of developed a passion for this world, and I'm combining it with the training of an athlete to look really freaking good.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing it. If you hadn't shared that before, I think people will always appreciate what's the vulnerability, what made you make decisions, because people can resonate, right? Like maybe they're feeling bad. Or I think the most powerful thing is, hey, I feel like I don't feel good and I don't want to talk to people. Maybe I should, right? So, again, appreciate it.
Yeah.
What are you doing now in terms of your nutrition, diet plan? How are you approaching it? And what does it look like today?
So right now I focus on all whole foods. I always look at the ingredients. If I'm eating anything,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm flipping it over still, but I'm looking at, okay, what's there? Is there any inflammatory ingredients? Staying away from any artificial sweeteners, staying away from soybean. I did the food sensitivity test, which is really great. Found out that I'm sensitive to spinach and watermelon, 2 foods that trigger an immune response, and so I stay away from those foods now, and I'm working on, healing my gut, healing my body so I can re-implement them in, but that was a big moment. My diet really looks like eating foods that nourish me well in the morning. I'll eat eggs, I'll eat grass-fed yogurt, as natural as can possibly be from the source, try to shop local, go to local butchers, eat the steak. Um, Nutrition's always changing, in terms of what I'm learning and some things, so I'm always doing my research and keeping myself up to date, and I'm sure I'll learn something new today about nutrition, but so everything is obviously evolving. What I tell you tomorrow could be different than today, but right now it's always the basics is whole foods, as simple as possible, and as fresh as possible. Yeah, vegetables, fiber.
Do you ever stray off of that? Like if you're traveling and there's something, a Diet Coke or whatever, like do you ever go for it, or is it strictly like it's Whole Foods no matter what now?
So I am
Yeah.
pretty good at the discipline
Yeah.
of just sticking to what I love. I don't have a big desire to go out of what I love and what
Yeah.
works for me. Although I will say that I have had many moments where I don't eat according to what I would suggest for myself, what I would recommend for myself,
Yeah.
and what I know to be the best. So there's plenty of moments that I've had a burger with a bun with gluten, and I'm trying to stay away from the gluten.
Yeah.
And I always want to go back to the 80-20% rule. Don't restrict yourself. Do things, 80% good of the time,
Yeah.
and the rest of the 20% it's going to be okay. I'd always recommend that for clients too. I find that the more you restrict yourself from something, the more you resist it, the more you want it, and that can lead to some other bad things. So 80-20% is always what I go back to, although I'm a pretty disciplined person, so if I wanted to, I could go 100% of the time
Right.
on just eating whole foods. But again, life, traveling, having to make some uh, choices on the fly is always real.
I'd love to unpack that a little bit for people listening, right? Because I think a lot of the time that advice is out there, like you should do 80% and then 20% whatever, 80% on and then 20% off. Where I feel like arguments are made are, hey, look, start eating cake and then I just want to eat the damn whole cake, right? Or I have a little bit of pizza and the next day I want it again and the cravings are there and it's hard for me to now not make that decision. How do you train people to get back on track fast if they get off track? Like, what are some of the protocols or methods that you have with your clients? Because I know you have tons of clients. We'll get into those in a second and how you approach, treating them or training them.
Sure.
But in this specific scenario, like getting people back on track if they fall off, do you have specific things that you do that worked really well?
Absolutely. So I first have to say, I'll preface anything I say by saying I never train any client the same.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's methodologies and there's the science that works, but everybody is different and everybody has a different way of operating and a different body and what works for them. And so if some people, they have that binging tendency where they eat the cake and they keep going,
Yeah.
I'll definitely give them different advice than somebody else who just eats the cake and doesn't need to keep going, and to get back on track. The one thing I'll say is whenever you get knocked down, and this is in your program, in life, and anything, this is universal. Whenever you get knocked down, get back up on your feet as soon as possible. So whatever happens, number one, be kind to yourself. Don't guilt yourself. Acknowledge that there's a broken commitment that was made. Right? You made a commitment to not do this. You broke that commitment. There's definitely an impact. So in order to grow, you want to explore the impact of that broken commitment. Once you explore the impact, you can explore if it's a pattern, which most of the time it is. You can explore the impact of that pattern. Again, a lot of impact here. And the most beautiful thing is then you can create anything new. You're never bound by what's happened to you or a moment where you went crazy on the cake. Obviously, there's an impact, right? It maybe took you off of your journey a little bit. But the one thing that you can do is create something beautiful and new. And that new commitment could be something that frees you from the past. And so I never want a client or anybody to be restricted or limited by what's happened. And so the best thing that you can do when you get knocked down is to get up as soon as possible. Just like boxing. You get knocked out, you have 10 count, get up as soon as you can. It doesn't matter how many times you get knocked down as long as you can get up.
Keep getting up. Yeah.
And the sooner you get up too, the sooner you can get back to growing and grinding and get back on track. We're always gonna fail in life, but if you're always looking at failure as just an opportunity to grow, then it's a different perspective, a different lens that you're viewing that situation.
Do you feel that because they're your clients, it's easier for them to get back up because they have you in your corner?
100%. 100%. I also don't ever like to put my clients in a jail cell where they need me. I always tell them this, like, what are you talking about, a jail cell? But I don't want my clients to ever feel like if they didn't have me, that they wouldn't be able to survive on their own and make the progress on their own. So what I do with clients is I give them all of the gifts and show them that they are capable of creating everything on their own. I ask them questions so that they can discover things for themselves, not me tell them what to do and what not to do. It's kind of like you're a kid, you're told what to do, you want to do the opposite, or it's not as exciting. But when you discover things on your own and you discover what you're capable of on your own, it allows you to have like an aha moment that you have forever. And so it's a really tough thing to be a coach and not tell people like do this, don't do this, and
Right.
this is what works. But when you position, your conversation with them as an opportunity for them to discover, really what's going on, obviously with the science and the results, everything right there in front of them, then it leaves them in a different empowered place.
Awesome. So on that train thought, let's let's get back to you becoming a coach and deciding to do that, right?
Yeah.
So you obviously had many career paths. You could have went to professional boxing, you went into insurance, at some point you were digging with shovels. And I don't know what that gig was, but you can really reveal it or not.
Sure.
What made you want to take on clients and train people and help people on their health journey?
Wow. It's been a journey of doing many different things, but ever since I was a little kid, I stood up on stage, it was elementary school, and I'll never forget this. I said in my very high voice, I mean, like it's changed that much, but I said, I want to leave every person, place, or thing better than when I found it or them. And I will forever hold that on to why I'm here, why I get up every day. What lights a fire inside of me is seeing other people be able to do what they love to do, be able to smile and live a great life. There is nothing. I get chills on my arm helping people. And I have this desire to really make a profound difference in the world. And I do that through helping people, and my love for health and knowing that health is the biggest foundation and catalyst for anything you want to do in life. If you want to be successful in business, where's your health? It's very hard to be a business owner, shake someone's hand and not be in good shape. When you look in the mirror and you're like, wow, how am I supposed to lead a team of people when I'm not looking the best? Or how can I be the most confident man in my relationship when I'm not looking my best? And how can you show up anywhere in life and be a very confident person without taking care of your health? And so I always use that as the catalyst of life and my passion for just helping people and supporting them. N- Not everybody needs help, but everybody needs somebody who's going to tell them what they need to hear, not just what they want to hear, and be their most fierce advocate. And everybody needs somebody like that in their life.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just one person that can change your whole life, and I hope that I can be that for as many people as possible for as long as I'm here on planet Earth. And so that makes me feel so passionate, and life's too short to do anything that you're not passionate about. And so that's my gift and my calling from God. And yeah, that's why I'm not doing the many other things that I've done,
Done, yeah.
like shovel rocks.
No,
Yeah.
I love it. Passion is always shining through as you're talking, so obviously you appreciate that, and I'm sure all your clients do. And to be honest, shoveling rocks was helping somebody, right? It was building a bridge or whatever, a house for somebody. Yeah. So talk about, how do you approach taking on a client? Is there criteria you look for? Do they have to be a certain type of person? If yes, and even if no, when you do take on somebody, how are you looking to integrate into their life? Like, what's your approach essentially? Because I think everyone would love to learn how, like, somebody who's been doing this since basically 5 years old and learning and optimizing themselves. What are some of those learnings, even if they don't have a coach or are looking for one they want to work with?
Yeah, absolutely. So what I look at with a client is I look at three things, and obviously I get really in depth with these three things. But number one is, what is their vision for life?
Yeah.
What is their vision for their health? Where, if they could wave a magic wand, where would they want to be? What would blow them away if they were able to achieve that in a certain time frame, whether it's 3 months, 6 months? And I always urge them to be as unreasonable as possible in creating that vision, because creating that big vision for themselves is going to really be the driving force of growth. Wherever you land, wherever the destination is, it's never really about the destination. It's about the journey to get there. And so on that journey, that's where they're going to find a lot of gratitude. But I want them to pinpoint some type of vision and create that, whether it's with me or on their own, already coming with that. And then we look at, what is their current reality? What is happening today? How are you living? How are you feeling? What habits do you have? And get really sober about what's going on in this time, in this moment in time. And once we're super clear on both of those places, then we look at, okay, what is needed to fill the gap? The gap is the most important thing. I had an amazing coach, CJ, tell me that if you're a person who loves to fill gaps, you'll be successful. And filling that gap in whatever area of life is a very exciting thing. Not as It could be a scary thing, but it's a very exciting thing, and we can look at a bunch of questions to figure out their current reality. If testing is involved because they're dealing with a health complication, we'll involve FDNs, and do some of the lab tests that are needed and essential for that. We'll look at, I said, the questionnaire of really just in-depth questions about where they are, what they're doing, how they got to where they're going. And then obviously I have a conversation, consultation. And my most important thing during that time, whether or not they want to create something together, is that I just leave them with some stepping stone to get closer to their vision after that conversation. And so I work with all different types of people. The most important thing is that number one, you're coachable, you're on the court, you're committed to being on the court, not in the stands. I don't want you watching your life go by. You got to actually hop on the court and be ready to make some moves, shoot some hoops. And then last, just be real, be authentic. That's the brand, is be real. And it's the most important thing, is to just continue to be real and authentic with yourself, to create who you want to be, not be the person that you just ended up as, because that's only one version of yourself.
Amazing. Let's get into some of the nitty-gritty.
Okay.
So it's like that's how you set them up. That's what you're looking for.
Sure.
When you are working together, what are some of the challenges that you come up against? Maybe there's some common ones you can share with us on you're trying to get them there, you're wanting to get them there, but just they're not doing it, or there's things coming up. What are you seeing?
So let's not even get into them them following the protocol and not working, because if they follow the protocol,
Yeah.
call me Mr. Possible, I will figure out the solution for whatever problem somebody's dealing with. And if I don't know the answer, I will find somebody who does. So I don't have issues with getting clients to the solution. The biggest issue lies in them being a person of integrity. And when I speak about integrity with my clients, integrity, which you may think about, is if you have more of it, you're a good person. And if you have less of it, you're less of a good person.
Yeah.
But integrity, in the way that I speak about it with clients, is just simply honoring your word, simply keeping your word. And having your word really means something to you. And what I find is that clients will come to me or any other coach and they're not keeping their word. They say they're going to do this, and then something gets in the way. Some either limiting belief about themselves, some story that they created about themselves, or something that comes up in day-to-day life, which then is an excuse and a reason why to not follow through. And what happens is it ends up just becoming a broken commitment, that they take that broken commitment and they put it under the rug and they never talk about it. And it builds up over time. It tears apart somebody's confidence and and their trust in themselves. So your trust in yourself, if you don't have any trust in your word, then you're not able to say, I'm going to do this, and then it actually happen. And so I work with integrity on helping somebody actually honor and keep their word as much as humanly possible. And keeping your word is not possible 100% of the time, especially if, like you and me, we're up to big things in life and we have a lot of commitments, right? It's not impossible to keep our word 100% of the time. Walking in a minute, couple minutes late, broken commitment there.
Yeah.
And so we're not able to keep our commitments, but what we're able to do is honor our commitments. And that's going through the growth process, which I talked about, going through the broken commitment, the impact on all parties, and then creating something new out of that. And right, like showing up late, if you're just going to build that habit, then it can kind of weigh on you instead of creating something new where you're like, I'm going to be a person that never shows up later, is always on time. Just as simple as that. And so the biggest thing that I see with clients is them having a lack of integrity. And that is the biggest problem that we all deal with, is that integrity, that never ending mountain that you're climbing to be the person that can always honor your word. Because if you are, then shoot, it's just about the protocol, right?
Yeah. And then you just do the things, right?
Yeah. So it can break down to really simple. It's just, how much can we keep and honor our word? How much integrity do we have?
Last thing then.
Okay.
People not keeping their word or not doing what they say they're gonna do. Why do you feel that happens? Because I think just a little more context,
Yeah.
they get busy. Everyone wants their attention or time, depending on who they are. They have conflicting viewpoints. Does it really just come down to like your health has to be your priority, and therefore your word around your health is the one thing you stick to? Is it people just don't care enough if there's not enough pain? Is it they like the idea of improving, but when they get into the thick of it, it gets too hard? Like, is there any insight you can give on that end?
I think it could be all of those things.
Yeah.
I really think that some people need to experience so much pain that they take action.
Yeah.
Some people need to have somebody just be their most fierce advocate before they take action. And some people don't believe in themselves. Some people simply have so many limiting beliefs because we live this life and things happen to us and we create stories about who we are and what we're capable of. And then people don't think that they deserve it or don't think that they're capable of being that person. And so it really takes that belief, and maybe it's somebody in their life. And so if there's anything that I will always do is see people at the highest version of themselves. See people as who they can become and see people as the most amazing people. Believe in people. Because really, when you believe in people, it allows them to feel like, yes, I can grow. Yes, I can do this. Yes, I can take action. And if they don't have that belief, then nothing's possible there. So to answer your question, it could be a lot of reasons why,
Yeah.
but that's the pinpointing. That's the number one. Usually it's the belief because education is everywhere. Not to be said, not all of the best education, right? You have to be really mindful of who you're speaking to and what education you're consuming. But there is amazing education out there, like the one that you're providing, the one that everybody at the amazing health conference is providing. I like to think that the information that I'm providing, right? There's amazing information. It's just who you're consuming it from, and then having the courage and the belief to just say yes, just like Nike.
Say yes.
Just do it. Just do it, man. Just do it. Take action. What's the worst thing that can happen? You fail, but then that's not really a failure because it's just a learning experience.
Gotcha. Amazing. Ben, where can people get to know you better, interact with you, and maybe even work with you?
Yeah, can follow me on Instagram, on Facebook, on anything. It's really just my name, Ben Roxey, Roxey, just one word. And you can find me on all socials. I will have a link in the bio. You can also go to berealtraining.com and apply for an amazing life transforming consultation where I will promise to leave you better than when I found you on any call, any interaction that we have. And yeah, I'm looking forward to really changing as many lives as I possibly can for the best.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you, man.
Awesome.